Hi there, this is David and welcome to the entire Star Ocean series ranked from worst to best. I've been a huge fan of the series ever since I got the first one released in America, Star Ocean the Second Story, back on the PlayStation whenever I was in high school, back in 1998. I really didn't know a whole lot about the series back then, I just knew what I had read in the Nintendo Power about the first game about RPGs that would remain over in Japan. So, whenever I saw that the sequel was released here, I was stoked to get my hands on it, and it quickly became one of my favorites, and I've just loved the series ever since. But, like all franchises, it definitely has its ups and its downs through the years. So, let's go ahead and get started ranking them all. Number 7, Star Ocean Integrity and Faithlessness. I hate to say it, but the much wanted and much hyped 5th game is easily the worst. New technology doesn't always make a better game. In fact, most of the time, newer HD tech ends up making games worse. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. With 7 long years passing between the 4th and the 5th game, many people thought that the series was just dead in the water, including myself. So I was super excited whenever this game was announced, so much so that I even Let's Played it back in the day. But man, was that ever a mistake. Because unfortunately, the game is just a complete train wreck from top to bottom. You only get one planet to explore, and it's tiny, with like 3 towns and 10 different fields to run through. That's it, in the entire game. So, in order to artificially lengthen it, the developers made you backtrack constantly, with no fast travel, just to needlessly pad out the already super short game that's about 10 to 15 hours. Then, the lazy excuse for a plot falls apart before it can even get up and running. Random Muppets come out of nowhere and they give big, evil speeches, only for you to kill them immediately and then just think, who was that guy? You never get to leave your home planet, private actions are just 1 or 2 sentences set in a town, and it's just beyond budget and such a disappointment. And hey y'all, if you're liking this so far, please be sure to smash that like button and subscribe for some more great content. And now, number 6, Star Ocean Blue Sphere. This entry isn't so much a bad game, it just really is a victim of the limited technology of the Game Boy Color. It's like trying to create a PlayStation game, but on a portable NES. I loved Star Ocean the Second Story, so whenever I read that there was a sequel to be released on the Game Boy Color, I was stoked. Only, like so many RPGs in the 90s, it just languished in Japan for years. In fact, it took well over 20 years for this little gem to finally get an English translation, and it's more of a Gaiden than it is a sequel. As a portable game, Blue Sphere is much simpler than the others. Taking place 2 years after the events of the second story, it features a return of all 12 main characters as they crash on planet Edifice. Here, the developers had some grandiose ideas, but they were definitely limited by the hardware. Despite having crafting, on-screen encounters, inventive puzzle-based dungeons, and a plethora of party members to choose from, it still feels a bit lacking, mostly because the little Game Boy Color just can't do justice for the action battle system that was so well refined back on the PlayStation. The story isn't anything to write home about either. Basically, the crew just goes off searching for Ernst and Opera, while also looking for spare parts for the spaceship so that they can return home. But along the way, they attempt to uncover the mystery of why the planet itself destroys civilization every 200 years. Number 5, Star Ocean: The Last Hope. Okay, the true stinkers are behind us now, and at this point, we've really hit a race to the top. This game is just on the cusp of greatness. The story, combat, dungeon design, and environments are nice. But the characters, especially the women, are some of the most annoyingly, infuriatingly stupid characters to ever exist in the history of video games ever. Namely Sarah and Limmel. Kay? I really just cannot overstate how much you're going to want to punch through your screen once they start talking. It's so bad. They're both just insufferably dense, but if you can get past them and Limmel's creepy doll eyes and maddening tick, you'll find a pretty solid game. Star Ocean games all take place in the same universe, but at different times, and this entry, being the first on the Star Ocean timeline, works well in its favor. It is nice to see why humanity had to leave Earth in the first place, how the Underdeveloped Planet Protection Treaty got its start, and just what kind of set the groundwork for the future games in the franchise. Of all the games in the series, this one probably has the best planetary exploration. I mean, yeah, you're still stuck on the medieval planet for quite some time, but there are many more worlds that you'll get the chance to explore as you progress. One thing to note though is the pacing of the game, because many of the dungeons do take forever, and those cutscenes are long, especially as Tweedledee and Tweedledumbass drone on. This is one of the very few games that I would actually recommend turning the voice acting off for. Number 4, Star Ocean First Departure. Let's just add this to that long list of gems that didn't leave Japan back in the day in the 90s, and it only served to piss me off whenever I'd read about them in Nintendo Power. I guess they didn't have enough English games to talk about coming out here, so they actually had articles titled Only in Japan, where they would basically rub it in your face that we were never getting some of these fantastic games. And the games that we wouldn't ever get always just happened to be RPGs. It was such a tease. The story is ambitious for the time, as it follows a group of friends on an underdeveloped planet who are under attack by a mysterious disease that turns people into stone, and the only way to cure them is to travel 300 years into the past, with the help of futuristic Earthlings who can travel through time and space. This is an absolutely stunning debut to the series, introducing staples still around today, such as multi-planet exploration, crafting, private actions, and fast-paced, fun action battle system. The battle system was actually revolutionary at the time, but upon reflection, at least on the SNES, it is primitive. However, if you play the far superior PSP remake, then you will find that the combat has been entirely fixed. Number 3, Star Ocean Till the End of Time. This is the third game in the series, and here the team really opened up that planet exploration aspect. Whereas in the second story, you really only had Expel and Mead to explore, now you have a whole bevy of planets at your disposal. Not only that, this is the first to go fully 3D as well as feature fully voiced dialogue, though that feature was also included in the PSP ports of the first two games. It also takes place roughly 400 years after the events of the second game, and as such, it's chronologically last in the series, which is definitely a good thing. And although you can't choose your hero like in the second and sixth games, the choice in party members is still there, allowing for that great Star Ocean replayability. The battle system is also fully revamped to be much more dynamic, but rather than a 4-person party, you're down to 3 here, and is also marred by an MP death system where whenever you run out of MP, you die. That sucks, and it's thankfully never utilized again. Now, far be it from me to spoil anything here, but what's really holding it back from greatness is the plot twist towards the end of the game. This twist almost single-handedly ruined the series too. So if it wasn't for that, this would definitely be a step above. I just don't know what they were thinking with that plot twist. Number 2, Star Ocean, The Divine Force. This is the most recent and 6th mainline entry into the long-running series, and it's just fantastic. After the mistakes of the plot twist of the 3rd, the characters of the 4th, and the absolute dumpster fire of the 5th games, Tri-Ace just decided to go back to the basics, back to what worked in the 2nd game. Now you have dual protagonists to choose from, multiple massive worlds to explore, super fun quick combat that takes place right on the screen, and the ability to soar off to lofty heights or blindside your enemies in battle with the power of the Duma, which is essentially a jetpack. The world is absolutely massive and a joy to explore, as you can literally fly around, soaring off into the distance and landing on whatever you see to grab treasure, find hidden areas, or just kind of fool around. Think how Xenoblade would be if you could fly. That is what this game is like. And the Doom works not only for exploration, but also combat too. It's just so frickin' cool. Then, there's the references to the previous games in the series, with character cameos found in the addicting minigame SOA. There's also a pretty looking and unannoying Welch, and even a sickness ravaging the planet, just like we saw in the first game. And of course, our heroes are out there violating that useless underdeveloped planet protection treaty. The whole experience serves as a love letter to fans of the series. But as great as this one is, there is a reason why it took inspiration from the second game. And that's because that's easily the best. So here is our number 1. Star Ocean: The Second Story. The second story is widely regarded as the best in the series, and is also my personal favorite for good reason. Right from the start, you have a choice of protagonists: Claude, a man from technologically advanced Earth, or Reyna, a girl from the small secluded village on the planet Expel. After Claude crash lands in the woods surrounding her village, they get caught up in an adventure bigger than themselves, spanning multiple worlds. Before this game came along, I had played action RPGs before, games like Secret of Mana and Crystallis, as well as Tales of Destiny. But this really just blew those out of the water. I can't say enough good things about this adventure. From cute villages and multiple dungeons, to the expansive world maps of each of the planets, to the 12 possible characters to choose from to join you, as well as the branching story paths depending on who you choose as a hero. This doesn't just deserve one playthrough, but at least 2 to experience both of the hero stories, and then maybe even a third to check out all the different characters that it has to offer. I mean, this behemoth sports over 80 different endings. There was just so much love, lore, and content that went into it. It is one of the deepest RPGs ever made still to this day. Thankfully, my 4th playthrough will be right around the corner as I deep dive into that HD 2D remake that's going to be released soon. It'll be so nice to experience Claude and Reyna's journey on modern hardware, with an upgraded combat system and quality of life improvements too. I mean, what could possibly be better than this? Hopefully, the inevitable Star Ocean 7 will top it in a few years. So that's it for the whole Star Ocean series ranked. How would you rank the games? What are your favorites and least favorites in the series? Let's get a discussion going on here, and let's all talk and chat about it, because I'm always there in the comments too. And if you like what I do around the channel, please head on over to the Patreon to sign up for early access to my videos and behind the scenes photographs. The link to it is in the video description. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.